In Flanders Fields, in the spring of 1915, shortly after losing a friend at Ypres, a Canadian doctor, Lieutenant Colonel John McCrae, who served in both South Africa and in the First World War, wrote his now famous poem after seeing poppies growing in battle-scarred fields. In Flanders Fields was first published in England's Punch magazine in December of 1915. Within months, this poem came to symbolize the sacrifices of all who were fighting in the First World War. Today, the poem continues to be part of Remembrance Day ceremonies in the United Kingdom, Canada, and other Commonwealth countries throughout the world. In America, we celebrate that day as Veterans Day to honor all who have served our grand nation in times of conflict and peacetime. In Flanders Fields, the poppies blow, between the crosses, row on row, that mark our place, and in the sky, the larks still bravely singing fly, scarce heard amid the guns below. We are the dead. Short days ago, we lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders Fields. Take up our quarrel with the foe. To you from failing hands we throw. The torch be yours to hold it high. If ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders Fields. In part because of the poem's popularity, the poppy was adopted as the flower of remembrance for the war dead of Britain, France, the United States, Canada, and other Commonwealth countries. The symbolic poppy and John McCrae's poems are still linked, and the voices of those who died in war continue to be heard each Remembrance Day. The poppy is a symbol of remembrance and hope, including hope for a positive future and peaceful world. They're also a show of support for the armed forces community, those currently serving, ex-serving personnel, and their families, and a symbol of remembrance for all those who've fallen in conflict. The 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, Armistice Day. Remembrance Day in Commonwealth countries, but here in America, Veterans Day. In 1921, an unknown World War I American soldier was buried in Arlington National Cemetery. This site, on a hillside overlooking the Potomac River and the city of Washington, D.C., became the focal point of reverence for America's veterans. Similar ceremonies occurred earlier in England and France, where an unknown soldier was buried in each nation's highest place of honor, in England at Westminster Abbey, in France at the Arc de Triomphe. These memorial gestures all took place on November 11th, giving universal recognition to the celebrated ending of World War I, when the fighting ended at 11 o'clock on the 11th day of the 11th month, known as Armistice Day. Armistice Day officially received its name in America in 1926 through congressional resolution. It became a national holiday 12 years later by similar congressional action. If the idealistic hope that had been realized from World War I was that it was a war to end all wars, November 11th might still be called Armistice Day. But only a few years after the holiday was proclaimed in America, war broke out in Europe. 16.5 million Americans took part in that conflict. 407,000 of them died in service, more than 292,000 in battle. The first celebration using the term Veterans Day occurred in Birmingham, Alabama in 1947. Raymond Weeks, a World War II veteran, organized National Veterans Day, which included a parade and other festivities to honor all veterans. The event was held on November 11th, then designated Armistice Day. Later, U.S. Representative Edward Reese of Kansas proposed a bill that would change Armistice Day to Veterans Day. In 1954, Congress passed the bill that President Eisenhower signed, proclaiming November 11th as Veterans Day. Since that day, we've known Armistice Day as Veterans Day since 1954. Raymond Weeks received the Presidential Citizens Medal from President Reagan in November 1982. Weeks' local parade and ceremonies are now an annual event celebrated nationwide by patriotic Americans, recognizing the sacrifices of those who came before us in uniform and those who continue to serve today. Take a moment. Remember your loved ones. Remember those who served this grand nation, its constitution, without regard to race, color, creed, religious affiliation, or ethnic origin, language, or gender. They served to defend Americans and America, at home and abroad. Remember veteran this Veterans Day. Thank you.